We have to find a solution today. The President of the Council said, and I support him in that, we will not leave the European Council without a solution for the funding for Ukraine for the next 2 years. And the two options, one of them then has to be agreed in the European Council.
European Union leaders have approved a €90 billion financial assistance package for Ukraine, covering 2026 to 2027, EU Council President Antonio Costa announced on X early Friday. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz confirmed the agreement, saying the funds would be provided as an interest-free loan, though funding mechanisms were not disclosed. Earlier, European Union leaders failed to agree on a controversial proposal to use frozen Russian assets to bankroll Ukraine's war effort, exposing deep political and legal divisions within the Bloc at a high-stakes summit in Brussels. After more than 14 hours of negotiations, the European Council ended without a deal, leaving both Ukraine's immediate funding needs and the EU's broader role in the peace process unresolved. At the heart of the impasse was a plan championed by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz to tap Russian sovereign assets immobilized in Europe to back a massive loan for Kyiv. According to EU officials, the proposal envisioned using the frozen funds as collateral for up to €180 billion in financing to sustain Ukraine's military and economic needs over the next 2 years. However, resistance from several member states ultimately derailed the initiative. European Council President Antonio Costa floated an alternative during the talks, suggesting the EU raise common debt on financial markets to provide Ukraine with short-term funding, while legal and technical questions surrounding the Russian assets were resolved, Euronews reported. That proposal also failed to secure consensus, underscoring how fractured the bloc remains over Ukraine financing.
The different approaches, specifically for assets held in Belgium and those held in other European Union countries, would drastically increase the risks and also drastically heighten the risk of Russian countermeasures, specifically targeting Belgium. And this too is completely unacceptable. If we jump, we all jump together. Belgium will not accept a solution where we alone would have to bear both the risks and the responsibility. Billions have been frozen, not merely immobilized, but actually frozen in Russia. At the same time, the progress made is still insufficient concerning other aspects. So to be perfectly clear, I have never seen a document that could convince me to give Belgium's approval. I haven't seen it yet. I'm hoping to perhaps see it sometime today, but I haven't seen it yet. We also demand protection from Russian countermeasures, and this is truly vital, such as confiscation in Russia or in third countries. The Commission has not yet provided satisfactory answers on this. Yet this is a key element. This is a key element, because the potential risks involved are certainly not negligible. If we consider the fact that the Russian Central Bank has quite recently filed a claim for the substantial sum of €195 billion against Euroclear within a Russian jurisdiction, a confiscation of Euroclear's assets in Russia could trigger a snowball effect, meaning Euroclear would then be unable to meet its clients' expectations and the company's overall stability would be severely compromised. And that would be a financial nightmare.
Belgium, where roughly €130 billion of Russia's frozen assets are held by the Brussels-based clearinghouse Euroclear, emerged as a key obstacle. Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever voiced concerns over the legal and financial risks of seizing the funds, a position backed by Italy's Giorgia Meloni, Hungary's Viktor Orban, Slovakia's Robert Fico, and Czech opposition leader Andrej Babis, according to officials familiar with the discussions. Some of those governments reportedly supported joint EU borrowing for Ukraine, provided their own countries were exempt, but that compromise was rejected by Berlin and Brussels. Moscow has already launched legal action against Euroclear and has warned that European banks could face retaliation if the assets are used. During the summit, Russian officials said the scope of their arbitration case had been widened, heightening concerns among European financial institutions. Ratings agency Fitch has since placed Euroclear on negative watch, citing potential legal exposure linked to the EU's plans.
If Ukraine doesn't receive the appropriate tranche this spring, pause, which in the event of peace, Ukraine intends to utilize for the reconstruction pause of our nation. Pause. However, should the war continue, Ukraine will allocate these funds towards several key priorities. Pause. First and foremost, the production of drones.
If this financial tranche doesn't arrive, Ukraine's drone production will be reduced many times over.
It concerns another sensitive issues that we have discussed with the United States of America. Yes, Donbass is an issue that remains unresolved. We have different views.
The nuclear power plant currently occupied by the Russian Federation is not working. It's been destroyed, yet it should be fully operational, generating electricity. This is our power plant. These are our rights. The fundamental issue remains completely unresolved. Ultimately, it all comes down to money.
I fully expressed my complete perspective to my fellow leaders today.
I believe that aid reparation loans, they absolutely must be positively resolved, this particular issue, because this matter is not solely a question of financial assistance for Ukraine during the first quarter of the upcoming year, but rather it is a question of a completely different character.
We absolutely do not want this particular tool to eventually fall into the hands of the Russians. We strongly oppose this, and we are convinced they will do everything in their power to block it.
We are seeing progress in our ongoing dialogue with the American side. Why is that? Because throughout our discussions with America, we have engaged in several different formats and we have worked through a number of important documents. And I genuinely believe that there is indeed significant progress being made in our dialogue.
The thing is, this is, after all, a component of the negotiation process. Then the United States of America takes our specific points without any changes and communicates directly with the Russian side. Therefore, at this moment, I simply have no feedback regarding our latest progress. I cannot tell you what is available or what is not.
But in the very near future, we will certainly make an announcement, and I consider the frequency of our meetings to be a clear indication of progress. For the time being, that is how I interpret this situation.
Perhaps there is more optimism than realism, but these are our realities. We live by fighting for ourselves and believe that we will succeed in everything.
We are in this war. The United States, they are the decision makers who can truly stop Putin. And I count on this, but I really count on pressure from the United States. Now, the United States is mediating more. It's true, they are mediating between us, but I really wanted them to take many more steps pressuring Russia, because I think that Putin doesn't want to stop this war, but he can if the United States will pressure more, and President Trump, he can, I think so, and I pray to God he will be successful in this.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, speaking in Brussels, urged leaders to act quickly, warning that Ukraine faces a budget shortfall of 45 to 50 billion euros next year. Without fresh funding by spring, he said, Kyiv could be forced to scale back drone production and other military programs. Zelenskyy argued that using frozen Russian assets would be moral, fair, and legal, pointing to legal opinions supporting the move. Despite von der Leyen's pledge that the summit would not end without a solution, no agreement emerged. The failure weakens the EU's leverage as the United States takes the lead in diplomatic efforts.
Well, they're getting close to something, but I hope Ukraine moves quickly. I hope Ukraine moves quickly because Russia's there. And, every time they take too much time, then Russia changes their mind. 27,000 soldiers were killed last month. Think of that. What do you think of that, doctors? 27,000, it's like a half a football stadium, were killed in 1 month.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said a ceasefire deal is closer than ever, with American and Russian envoys expected to meet in Miami, alongside Ukrainian representatives, according to AFP. European leaders also shelved a separate, contentious trade deal with the Mercosur Bloc after protests by thousands of farmers in Brussels, adding to the sense of disarray. Analysts say the twin setbacks highlight the EU's struggle to project unity at a pivotal moment in the war. While Commission officials insist there is a sound legal basis to use the Russian funds, opposition remains strong. Hungary has vowed to block any move requiring unanimity, and several smaller states remain unconvinced. As the summit closed, Costa promised further talks with skeptical governments, stressing that no decision would be forced on Belgium. But with Ukraine's finances under strain and peace negotiations gathering pace elsewhere, the EU's inability to reach consensus has raised questions about its influence in shaping the war's next phase.